In the annals of true crime, few figures inspire the kind of dread associated with Richard Kuklinski, better known as the Iceman. He claimed a staggering personal body count of over 200 victims. He painted a picture of an untraceable phantom who dispatched men using crossbows, experimental cyanide sprays, and caves swarming with rats. Then came his most audacious claim. Kuklinski swore he was the ultimate Mafia problem solver, the man personally responsible for the infamous disappearance of Teamsters president Jimmy Hoffa. He bragged about his tight connections, claiming he took direct orders from John Gotti himself. The media swallowed every word. Through a series of highly rated documentaries, Kuklinski became cemented as the underworld's most terrifying supervillain. But if you consult the FBI, organized crime experts, or the detectives who actually put him in handcuffs, you hear a very different story. The hard evidence officially links Kuklinski to exactly 5 murders. Even the most generous law enforcement estimates cap his total lifetime victims at around 15. This is the organizational chart of the Carlo Gambino crime family, a highly detailed, documented map of the syndicate's power structure. If you scan through the ranks of soldiers, associates, and known hitmen, Richard Kuklinski is completely absent. He appears in 0 official Mafia records. If the Iceman was never the mob's favorite assassin, who is the man actually wearing the handcuffs? For most of his adult life, Kuklinski operated as a New Jersey suburban dad, making a living by running a local burglary ring and bootlegging Disney VHS tapes. His targets were never high-profile mob bosses. He exclusively preyed upon his own low-level business associates and fellow thieves. He murdered men like Gary Smith and Louis Masgay purely out of greed. He lured them to meetings with the promise of lucrative black market deals, stole their cash, and killed them to tie up the loose ends. He froze a victim's body to mask the time of death, out of sheer desperation. It was a sloppy trick to confuse local coroners, not the signature of an elite assassin. His crimes were driven entirely by petty theft and paranoia. He operated completely disconnected from the structured world of organized crime. His capture lacked any cinematic mob drama. Kuklinski fell for an 18-month undercover sting known as Operation Iceman. An ATF agent named Dominic Polyfrone successfully befriended the boastful criminal. Polyfrone tricked Kuklinski into trying to buy fake cyanide, recording his confessions the entire time. Bankrupt and facing multiple life sentences, Kuklinski stared down a completely empty future. Sitting in a cell, he noticed the public's massive appetite for sensational true crime. He realized that the wilder his stories were, the more television producers were willing to pay his family for interviews. He inserted himself into famous unsolved mysteries, like the Castellano hit or the Hoffa disappearance. Claiming a role in history proved to be a highly profitable lifeline. To understand what really drove him, you have to look past the media bravado to his 2002 psychiatric interview with Dr. Park Dietz. Dietz dug into Kuklinski's horrific childhood. He was raised in an extremely violent household, enduring daily beatings from an alcoholic father and an abusive mother, systematic trauma that destroyed his capacity for empathy. The clinical diagnosis was severe antisocial personality disorder. Kuklinski was driven by a deep-seated, all-consuming hate, leaving a total emotional void inside him. Dietz suggested that if his father had loved him, he might have been a normal citizen. For the first time on camera, the killer swallowed hard and fell silent. He possessed no master plan. Kuklinski existed as a tragically broken, pathetic abuser, trapped in a relentless cycle of his own violence. Yet an entire multi-million-dollar media empire was built on the back of his fabrications, actively ignoring the sad, petty reality of his existence. The true crime industry brushed aside the debunking by the FBI and organized crime experts. A mythical supervillain simply sells more books and television subscriptions than a suburban thug. We eagerly consume these myths. Believing in a sophisticated, shadow-dwelling master assassin is strangely comforting compared to facing the depressing, everyday reality of domestic abuse and petty greed. Richard Kuklinski was undeniably a brutal, prolific murderer, but his most successful con was weaponizing our collective obsession with true crime, manipulating the media to achieve a dark, immortal celebrity.